Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on the View from the Crowd YouTube channel. And today we are going to be taking a little look at UFC 259, giving you my preview, predictions, all that jazz about the the next UFC event coming. Well, for me this Sunday because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but for people who live in America or sort of that way on, it's going to be Saturday night. This is a huge event, sort of, even for UFC standards, this is massive. 3 title fights on a single card. This isn't on Fight Island like the last few UFC events have been. This is in the UFC Apex sort of complex in Las Vegas. But this is going to be a huge night. As I said, 3 title fights on the line. I will be looking sort of briefly at the cards, at the fights that go on the card before, of course, the main event of Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya, which I'm looking forward to so much. But anywho, we must crack on. But let's just get straight into the main card, and we'll start with the first fight of the evening, which is Tiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. Tiago Santos is a weird sort of fighter in the UFC. He's one that sort of makes, well, he kind of made a statement, sort of dropped off, and then throughout like 2017, 2018, really went on a massive rise through the light heavyweight division, got himself a fight against John Jones and Jan Blachowicz, lost them both. I think he lost his last fight, which was last year as well, which doesn't exactly put him in the greatest of positions for this fight. Yeah, when you're coming off the back of 3 losses, especially like in the UFC, you just basically become a stepping stone for, well, just new fighters coming into the sport. And I think that's just the case of what we're going to have, well, this weekend. Alexander Rakic, he's 29 years old. I think he's got a 5-1 record in the UFC. And like I said, this fight is purely a stepping stone in his career for bigger things. It's a test. Of course, it's going to be a test. Tiago Santos is not a slouch. He's going to be a tough fight. But if Rakic beats him, that is boosting his name, it's boosting his chances of ever competing for the title. And honestly, I think, for me personally, it's going to play out the way you'd expect it. I think Tiago Santos is going to lose this fight. I think Rakic, he's on this rise, and I think, as I said, it's just going to be a stepping stone in what could be potentially a larger career for him in the UFC. So, yep. I'm sort of split on whether I want to sort of make a prediction of how the fight's going to go. But honestly, I think, it's going to be a tough opponent. Tiago Santos is going to be a tough opponent, and I can see it going all 3 rounds. So I think it could be won on a decision. But who knows? It's fighting. It's hard to make predictions like this, but I think it could just go all the way and be a 3rd round sort of decision in favour of Rakic. Next on the card we have Islam Makhachev versus Drew Drober. Now I think, for a lightweight fight, I think this is very good. Makhachev has been on a phenomenal run in the UFC. He holds an impressive sort of MMA record in general, but hasn't lost a fight since his debut back in 2015 in the UFC. He's been a fairly irregular fighter. He fights down and again, so that's why he really hasn't been able to challenge for the lightweight belts. And also the fact that he hasn't fought in like a year and a half could be sort of playing against him. Against someone like Drew Drober, who's a lot more active in the UFC, has a lot more fights under his belt, and has also had a fairly impressive run in the UFC. Hasn't lost a fight in about 2 years now, which is, impressive in and of itself. So I think this could be genuinely a very close fight. Just another great fight to add to this amazing card that we're seeing this weekend. I I am struggling to pick a winner. Sort of my head sort of favours Makhachev, as you know, he has been unbeaten for so long, and you know, he's a tricky fighter. So I think Drew Dober could be a real challenge, and I'm definitely excited to see the way this one goes, to be honest. I'm kind of sort of leaning towards Makhachev. You know, he is one of those fighters who trains with Khabib, is very good at submissions, and as I said, he's a tricky fighter. However, a lot of his fights do tend to go all the way, and honestly, if you know, we've seen this sort of, especially with the likes of Khabib and Usman in the UFC, like they're incredibly effective fighters because you can just wear down your opponents, and that's sort of where wrestlers kind of, you know, fit into this whole MMA, you know, their ability to completely wear down opponents and just break them on the floor. So for that reason, I am going to go with Makhachev to beat Dober, which I think is probably also, like the last fight, I think it's going to go the distance and be won on decision. Now we get on to the first of 3 title fights which will round off this card. First is Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan. Petr Yan, of course, took the vacant bantamweight title in July of last year against Jose Aldo. Fairly convincing win over Jose Aldo, I must say, and yeah, this is his first ever defense of that title. He is an incredible boxer. He does have an amazing strike on him, but when he's coming against someone like Sterling, who, you know, does like to take people to the ground, does like to sort of have their way with them there, that's sort of where problems arise. You know, you see sort of time and time again sort of wrestlers and, you know, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighters who like to take things to the ground. You know, they can really unravel strikers, because when your, you know, best asset is when you're on your feet, it does take a lot to, well, it does take a lot out of a fighter to then be, you know, on your back, on the floor, taking punches, elbows, and just generally being just worn down. So it will be interesting to see how he copes. But as long as he's able to sort of resist the takedowns and sort of, and if it does get taken down, be able to get up very quickly, then there's no reason why this fight can't easily go in his favour. Like, if he's able to get a few punches in, really sort of shake Sterling, sort of really, you know, get to him, then honestly, there is no reason why he can't win this fight. I do honestly believe myself that Petr Yan is going to be the one who wins this fight. You know, Sterling is a good fighter, I'll give him that, but I think, you know, Yan has just been so brilliant in the bantam weight championship, you know, in the bantamweight division, and he's, you know, very, very deserving of that belt. And you know, and even though this might be his first defense, I do see him keeping that belt for quite a while. So I do have it to be Yan to, I'm going to say knockout. I will say it's probably going to be TKO on Sterling, probably within the first 3 rounds. Next up we have Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. Now honestly, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because straight off the bat, I think Amanda Nunes is going to win it. She is an excellent fighter. Like, you cannot deny that Amanda Nunes is a brilliant fighter. I think even like people like Holly Holmes are like expecting Nunes to pretty much breeze through this fight. Of course, that is not saying anything about Megan Anderson, the way she fights, but Nunes is definitely on another level, and I definitely expect her to retain her belt. So they're simple. I don't really need to go into it too much. I don't think. Nunes to beat Anderson. I think that's a pretty standard prediction sort of throughout most MMA fans or pundits or whatever. Yeah, Amanda Nunes to I don't know. I think it possibly could go the distance, but because a lot of Nunes' fights do tend to go the distance, so I would say that it's going to be Nunes on a decision and not by any form of knockout or submission. So now finally we get on to the main event, which is Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. Now, Israel Adesanya has been cleaning up in the UFC since day one. He's got an undefeated record in MMA in general, and also he's like 9-0 in the UFC. An incredible fighter, which unsurprisingly saw him take the belt and become middleweight champion. However, this fight isn't for the middleweight championship, it is for Jan Blachowicz' light heavyweight belt. He's looking to become a 2-division champion. And despite sort of Blachowicz' sort of bit up and down sort of time in the UFC, he did absolutely well, he very much upset the odds by beating Dominic Reyes for the belt back, I think it was in September that he won the belt. So it's obvious that Blachowicz is no slouch. So this could make it a very interesting fight. There's no doubt whatsoever that Adesanya is a very, very good fighter. He's an incredible striker. However, he can be a little bit he can sort of rash and a bit impulsive. He can kind of run into things. I remember watching his sort of fight against sort of like Paulo Costa or sort of Robert Whittaker. Like, Whittaker was landing shots on him, quite heavy shots, which he was quite lucky to sort of to like get through, because we already know Robert Whittaker is one hell of a fighter. And definitely a contender for that middleweight belt very soon. But he can't be, taking those punches, especially from someone like Jan Blachowicz, who hits incredibly hard himself. So he just needs to be that bit more calculated. And I think, personally, I'm going to have Adesanya sort of to win this fight, because usually sort of when Adesanya's been fighting at middleweight, he has to cut, because he's quite lanky, he's got very long limbs, but now he's going to be fighting at a weight which he probably trains more at. It's probably a weight which is a lot more comfortable for him to be at. Therefore this fight makes complete sense in his eyes. It's not him sort of really having to put on the pounds, fight with the extra weight. I think fighting at a weight that he's usually going to be training at during his camp, it's going to be incredibly beneficial for Adesanya. I think for Blachowicz, I think just Adesanya is going to just be a little bit too much for him. As I said, he's got very long limbs. He's a very, I would say he's fairly unorthodox, and he's just an incredibly good striker. Of course, sort of Blachowicz we saw against like a fight against Dominic Reyes. That he's he is a hell of a fighter, but still, I do feel like I'm kind of jumping on some Adesanya sort of hype train, which is easy for fans of any sort of fighting sport to get on, especially with fighters like Conor McGregor. Like, I love McGregor, and I will be completely honest that I really like him as a fighter. I think the key if Blachowicz wants to win this fight is he just needs to be patient. If we see sort of the normal Adesanya, where he can be a bit rash, is kind of jump in with his strikes, then I think there's definitely opportunities for Blachowicz to counter and really get some hard punches in there. I think that's the key. He needs to get those hard punches in early, really upset sort of Adesanya's rhythm that he tends to get in, and just make sure that he's never comfortable at any point during the fight. And if he can do that, then he definitely has a chance of winning. Whether or not I think he has a chance to knock him out, I highly doubt. I think Adesanya's got a very strong chin on him. Christ, that's going to get clipped if he gets knocked out. I think the most likely outcome is going to be an Adesanya win. I think he's just going to be a little bit too tricky. I think he's just going to be a little bit too much for Blachowicz, and hence why I'm going with Adesanya to win. Now, whether it's by knockout or decision, I don't really know. I think it could be a tough one. You know, 5 rounds of MMA is incredibly tough. Personally, I'm gonna go with it probably going to a decision more than a knockout. And if it is a knockout, it's going to be probably a late one, probably in either the 4th or 5th round. Is probably where it will come. I don't expect it to come within the first 3, and if it does, well then fair play. But yeah, I'm probably going to side with Israel Adesanya. I'm going to win in the 4th round by knockout if it does happen. Otherwise, it will definitely go to a decision. So yeah, that is my first. It's my first MMA preview I'm doing on here. It's kind of a bit new for me. I'm used to just doing reviews. I kind of just watch UFC, and then I'd like to then just comment on what happens rather than trying to make my own predictions. And well, fingers crossed it goes well. Because if it doesn't, then I certainly won't be doing any of these ever again. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on who you think is going to win each round. If you think I'm talking a load of bollocks, which I probably am, yeah, just let me know down in the comments. Let me know who you think is going to win each fight. Definitely be interesting to hear your thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear from you guys. So yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments below. So guys, that's all from me in this video. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you're not already, subscribe down below with notifications on so you get notified every time I upload. Also make sure to follow my blog, which is also down in the description. I've been posting fairly regular content on there recently, so make sure to go check it out. And also check out Sportlight Pro. I've got a few articles in the pipeline with them, which should be coming out probably in the next week or so. So yeah, definitely make sure to check those out when they come out. The link for that will be down in the description below. So guys, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Blachowicz. Thank you and goodbye.